1-0 down that day.
It's in the net after a valiant effort from Henry Smith, and Aberdeen are in the lead.
And it looked, for all intents and purposes, that we were going to have our first defeat. But again, John Cahoon popped up with another great goal late on, 3 minutes to go. We salvaged another point, which left us still very much in control.
John Cahoon for Hearts! And there's the spirit of Hearts for all to see.
John Cahoon scored very late on in the game to, probably in hindsight, to snatch a point, because I think Aberdeen were the stronger side on the day. But that never say die attitude had came and played a part, and the supporters had a huge part to play in that.
It was that attitude that had taken this team from also-rans to champions-elect. With games against Clydebank and Dundee left, Hearts needed just 3 points to take the title. With expectations running high, were this Hearts team beginning to feel the heat?
The Clydebank game was a game that the pressure it was on was all put on by our own performances, our own results, and the belief that we were so close. And it wasn't a convincing performance from us, but roared on by the crowd. We got the break. I mean, I was fortunate enough to score the goal that day.
Mackay. Will he go himself? He has! 1-0.
We just couldn't add to that. We come out with the 2 points, and we knew, travelling to the last match at Dens Park, that we required 1 point to win the championship.
Hearts had one hand and 4 fingers on the championship trophy. 1 point. Just a draw was all it was needed to secure this team's immortality. They were on 50 points, Celtic behind on 48, but 4 goals worse off than the Jambos. And so to Dens, Hearts' biggest match in decades. But in the build-up, all was not going to plan.
4 of the guys had to be sent home with the flu, which was we'd never needed to change the team. We'd been on a settled team, and as I say, unfortunately, Craig Levine couldn't play.
We still had the destiny in our own hands, and still had the ability to go and win it with the team that we got on the pitch that day.
There was a maroon invasion of Tayside that spring afternoon. If the team needed a 12th man, it was provided by the huge Heart support that travelled to Dundee.
There in the mass ranks, the confidence that they'll take the championship back to Edinburgh.
This is it. This must be our destination. This is where we'll come to. We cannot let these lot down.
We felt the league was ours, and it was ours. It was ours for the taking. A point wins us the Premier League.
Off we go, and if a scriptwriter had come up with an end-of-the-season climax like this, I think it would have been rejected as being too fanciful.
Our aim was to go out and get an early goal and try and kill off everything. And we started very, very well. And then we felt we had a very, very strong penalty claim.
Pitch looks as if it's going to play very fiery. Sandy Clark, good run round, deals for a penalty.
While claims for a penalty fell on deaf ears, Hearts were listening in for news from Love Street, where Celtic were taking on St Mirren.
We've got somebody down at Paisley with a phone. If they score, they'll phone us at the side of the bench. But as you know, the way it turned out, Celtic rattled in a few goals, and then they didn't have a heart to phone.
So we goes in at half time. And it's 0-0, but I'm walking off at the bottom end. And this photographer shout across, "It's big man." Aye, what's up? Celtic are 4-0 up. I went, bollocks. He says they're 4-0 up. Oh, are they? Right, okay.
With Celtic guaranteed victory at St Mirren, this Hearts team knew what they had to do. Just get that 1 point. And so began the final 45 minutes of an incredible league season.
It's just a tousy game, nothing's happening, I've not a save to make. And of course then, looked at a big clock that they had them days, it's 4:20. Looked at it again, it's 4:30. Oh, Jesus Christ, has it stopped?
That stage, as we said, we looked good for the point, if not winning the match. But unfortunately, Dundee brought an Albert kid.
And really the last 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes, whatever it was, is something that will live with any Hearts supporter that was there, any Hearts player that was there for the rest of their lives.
Swinging in and swinging in very dangerously. There's a goal!
It didn't take long for the news of Kidd's goal to filter through to Love Street.
Now that must be a goal for Dundee. Sheer bedlam around the stadium. Well, you don't need to hear any more news than that. Dundee clearly has scored at Dens. And let's lift off here at Love Street.
We knew at that point it was slipping away and that we had to do something. Maybe in 20 minutes and 30 minutes we could impose ourselves in the game, but 8 minutes we couldn't.
What a marvellous substitution this has been for Dundee and Hearts. Looking slightly ragged, there's a great chance. They've done it! 2-0. A brilliant goal.
The second goal was a killer, that was it, finished. And it was, when I talk about we play together and we sleep together, this is when we cry together.
Seconds remaining, and there goes the final whistle. And let me repeat that Hearts apparently have lost the championship. They've gone all these number of games, 37 undefeated, and then suddenly on the last day, the last afternoon, the last 10 minutes of this championship, they lose out. Utterly cruel.
End of story. End of the run. End of title.
How low, how drained, how empty, how flat he felt, and as I say, he felt like he let every single fan that's ever supported Hearts down.
I remember everybody lying around and the supporters being on the pitch with us. And it's hard now still to think about it, to see their faces. You can still see their faces.
Hearts had lost the title on goal difference.
You know, to have gone so long and so far and have it snatched away to death is probably one of the cruelest things that can happen.
In normal circumstances, at the end of a season, you'd ask the players to go out and go to the supporters that had supported them. But quite rightly, in these circumstances, you couldn't allow that.
Someone had to acknowledge the grief of the fans. Wallace Mercer went to them, leaving the team to mourn in private in the dressing room.
There's nothing ever in football that would ever feel like that, ever. And only people that have gone through that would know what that dressing room was like.
We sat in that changing room at Dens Park, and Aaron McDonald did exceptionally well, as always.
And then the manager came round and thanked us all. Said he was proud of us, which he was.
Of course, I go in to say, hey, look, positive next week, we've got a game next week, let's, you know. So I get in the toilet, I'm filling up myself, you know. So it took me 3 times to come out and settle down and try and get that, right, come on, in, let's get going. We've got a week, get ourselves organised. But it was hard, but I would do it again.
The dream double was no more, but Hearts had to put the deep disappointment of Dens behind them and prepare for the remaining chance of silverware in the Scottish Cup final.
No, everybody gets a second chance, and we've got a second chance here with the cup final. So on the Monday morning when we got them all in, we sat them down, thanked them, congratulated them for their efforts they put in, and then started to try and lift them.
We believed that we could put the setback behind us and triumph over Aberdeen in the cup final.
Rising roar round Hampden Park is the anticipation of something like 60,000 throats getting ready for the first ever cup final between Hearts and Aberdeen.
We lost a very early goal to John Hewitt. We battled back. Both myself and Gary Mackay missed good chances just before the break.
Here's John Robertson with a chance, and he scored. Oh, it looked like in the net from here.
The gods were conspiring against Hearts. Again. A very bad week was just about to get a whole lot worse.
We lost a very early goal the second half again, but we kept pouring forward. Neil Berry hit the crossbar, and it just wasn't to be. And Aberdeen completed scoring with a goal, I think, from Billy Stark late on.
Oh, there's a third one. Billy Stark. 3-0 for Aberdeen, and that is the cup final well and truly finished, I think, as far as Hearts are concerned.
And then the frustrations came out. Walter Kidd got sent off late in the match for throwing a ball at one of the Aberdeen players, and you know, the team by that time had gone. The legs had gone, the spirit had gone, and we knew that it was going to be a season that ultimately we'd end up with nothing.
It's almost incredible to think they have done so much and won nothing. Well, won nothing for the record books, but won the respect of many people.
We're taking the supporters along this road where we're all looking to succeed together, to give Heart and Midlothian Football Club pride back, because it had lost a lot over the previous 20, 30 years. And unfortunately we weren't able to deliver. And that's something we live with.
It had been a season of second prizes. But back in Edinburgh, the fans wanted to thank this team that had put the heart back into Heart of Midlothian.
And back at the Caledonian Hotel after the cup final, the scenes were unbelievable.
I don't think any of us could have foreseen the swell of support that would be outside the hotel. And I don't think any of us are ashamed to say, I mean, I know myself that emotionally I just lost it.
And it was wee Alex was off the bus first, carried above their heads into the Caledonian, and every player was doing that, was carried above their heads by the fans into the Caledonian Hotel. Amazing. And we just had lost the cup final.
Here were fans who'd had the heart ripped out of them. We'd lost the league title in the last few minutes of the league. We'd lost the Scottish Cup final, and yet here they were, treating you like heroes.
Yeah, it was very emotional. That was serious stuff. I think it was a greeting job again with me and Sandy up in the room. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it with the supporters. They were absolutely fantastic.
The team that had come so close to an astonishing double would be influential at Hearts for many years to come. Sandy Clark, Craig Levine and the club's record goal scorer John Robertson all had stints managing the club. John Colquhoun and Gary Mackay, who holds the record for the number of appearances at Hearts, now work as football agents. After that season, Alec MacDonald and Sandy Jardine became Hearts co-managers. Jardine stayed on till 1988, MacDonald till 1990. Both now work at former club Rangers. Wallace Mercer called it a day as Hearts chairman in 1994, after an abandoned attempt to take over their rivals Hibs, and then moved into property development. Theirs was a story that ripped at their emotions. Each of them gave so much to the club during that amazing season, and the spirit that saw them bring Hearts back from the edge and onto the brink of glory still runs strong in the boys of '86.
It was an incredible season, and there was a great sense of pride that there's a team that had been nicknamed the Yo-Yo Club up and down had suddenly become title challengers, nearly cup winners, had gelled together tremendously.
It was a great experience to play with and train and work with a great bunch of lads. Every one of them was a gem.
And you think, how many of these people still love or have loved in their time what Heart of Midlothian Football Club has brought to their lives, and that will never leave us.
The disappointment at the end is just a faraway memory, but the whole season's not. It'll live in the back of my mind for the rest of my life.
It still hurts. 20 years later, you bring back too many memories.
Yeah, and you wouldn't wish it in your worst enemy. But that's football. It's why we're in it, why we love it, why we hate it.
If we'd won it, we wouldn't have had half the column inches, or half the amount of people talking about us, or half the amount of interviews, or half the amount of media space that we've had because of what happened. And I would trade it all, every column inch, every interview, everything, to just get a goal with 10 minutes to go at Dens Park. No question. Because we deserved it.
Sadly, since this programme was made, former Hearts chairman Wallace Mercer has died.